And we live. We live. And we are back again. It's your friendly neighborhood film watcher. It's Frankly Football. I'm your humble host, Brandon. The couch is over there. Go ahead. Pour yourself a cup of the 9 I'm taking water. Today, we are going to talk about the 2023 Cowboys draft class in retrospect. A draft retrospective, if you will. And the impact or non-impact that it had. Because it can be viewed a variety of ways, you know? The Cowboys were able to take, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 prospects in the 2023 NFL draft, right? 8 young men who had the opportunity to make the team. 9 times out of the 10, the Cowboys do retain their prospects on the final roster or practice squad. And from there, throughout the 17-week season, 18 weeks including the bye week, 19 weeks including this one pathetic playoff game, they had the opportunity to leave their mark on the season, right? Well, let's talk about where they were picked, the impact that they had, and how we can look back on them and what they could potentially do moving forward, right? Where else to start but the first round? In round 1, pick 26, the Cowboys drafted Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle, one tech from Michigan. Now, thing about Mozzie Smith, and let me make sure I have all of my notes together. Thing about Mozzie Smith, he was supposed to be, your wide body space eater type of guy. And D tackle is already kind of ready. Where? What's up, John? What's going on? Good to see y'all. But Mozzie was already in a position that develops kind of slow. So I want you to keep that thought in the recesses of your mind till y'all ready today, as I talk about what he provided to the team throughout the season. His preseason, great question, parking lot there. His preseason looked promising, right? And that was probably the highlight of his whole season, right? All downhill from there. Flash in the pan. Mozzie was drafted with the expectation that he would be a run stopper. And while I'm thankful that we were able to fall on Jonathan Hankins, it was a massive disappointment that he couldn't come in and do that one job, run stopper, well. What we saw when he was able to get on the field was he was particularly slow off of the ball, didn't stop the run, that one job, particularly well, and while he wasn't drafted for this purpose, didn't rush the passer all that great. Next, we have to observe the fact that as the season went on, he lost 30 pounds over the course of the season. When he joined the team, he weighed in officially at 327 pounds. But at week 18, it was leaked that he dropped 35 pounds and weighed 292 pounds. What one tech is going to weigh in the 290s? What one tech is going to weigh in at under 300? That would be considered featherweight for a one tech. So you have to ask yourself, what is this coaching staff planning for a player that was already struggling? And Stevie Mack said that Mozzie was a dumb choice for a team that was in win now mode. I'm not necessarily inclined to fully agree because they saw a need and they tried to fill it in order to win now. Mozzie just struggled mightily. Mozzie struggled bad. And then they took things away from him. They took his size, his bulk away from him. And so that was a head scratcher. it was awful. They tried to turn him into a 3-tech. It was awful. He played 4 snaps in the playoff game. None of them good. Not a single one. He was the worst rated player on the field for both teams in that playoff game. Despicable. Before I go on to Schoonmaker, who I think was the worst pick in this draft, by the way. Shaheem, you said, are we going to draft a quarterback this year? I believe so, but not high. I don't want to go off track too much, but historically, Dallas has not been a high round drafting team. Like just starting at modern day and going back. Dak was a 4th round guy. Romo was undrafted. That takes you back almost 20 years in itself. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't believe that Dallas will be a high drafting quarterback team. They may take a guy in the 3rd, maybe a 4th. I got some guys in mind with that in mind. But I can't give you too much of the content. I got to add some cut to that. I can't give it to you, too raw, too pure. It's straight off the boat right now. I got to cut it first, give it to you later. We got a whole off season worth of content. But that was just day one. That was Mozzie Smith. And a lot of people weren't happy with the Mozzie Smith pick just because of the traits that he presented at Michigan. Mozzie Smith was always slow off of the ball, even when he was at Michigan. We just tried to make the best of it. So yeah, and like I said, one tech kind of develops a little slow anyway. So even if he would have been his best self, he would still probably develop in year 2 or 3. That's just the nature of the D tackle position. Onward to day 2 and round 2, you have another Michigan guy, tight end Luke Schoonmaker. Wasn't really sure what was going on with, Michigan guys. Stevie Mack said it. Schoonmaker was a net negative for this draft. Not only was he not a position of need, but he wasn't really a highly touted guy for his position. Schoonmaker wasn't a position of need, but he wasn't a highly touted guy for his position. He developed slow while he was at Michigan. And there were guys that could have been taken who were better at his position. Honestly, there were guys who were higher on the board and higher as positions of need around him. There were O-linemen that were around. There were running backs that were around, So that may have been the biggest head scratcher of the Cowboys draft. Schoonmaker may have been the biggest head scratcher of the Cowboys draft. There are other YouTubers. If any of you that are Cowboys fans watch Pick 6 Sports, they did their draft reactions live. All of them got silent at that. It was like, And then they did like a cut up, a couple days ago. And that was the one that was the most perplexing. Because who thought that especially in hindsight, with the way that Jake Ferguson has performed in his second year, that they would take Luke Schoonmaker. And if you look at his production, he hasn't had the greatest year. And the play that kind of encapsulates Schoonmaker's whole year, if you look at the Washington game, no, excuse me, it wasn't the Washington game, it was the Green Bay game. Schoonmaker caught a pass, and the one move that he did not have to make was going out of bounds. What did he do? He went out of bounds. It was just, yep, there it is. And it was just, you just had to shake your head and like, yep, he isn't ready. He isn't ready. So, and he may get better because tight ends, once again, is another position that develops over year 2 or year 3. But right now, he isn't ready. He came into this team as tight end 3. I think that the front office, and this sucks because I talk up Will McClay so highly, but man, they dropped the ball in a lot of rounds this draft. I think that Will McClay thought that they were getting a poor man's Dalton Kincaid or something like that. I'm not sure. Parking lot that question, Shaheem, I'm gonna get to you. I think that they were getting a poor man's Dalton Kincaid, and they got really enamored with him and just had to scratch that itch. But geez, that was horrible. The horrible pick. Shaheem says, so what do you guys do with Trey Lance? Is he developing? What was his purpose in getting him from the Niners? Yeah, a developmental pick. Hoping that you get something, and if you don't, then okay. Because you got a guy that was a first round pick and you got him for a 4th. You don't necessarily have to, get value from him, because right now you have a starting quarterback for at least one more year. I'm gonna put out a full video on Dak Prescott. After today, I got 65 more scripts written. So if you get something out of Trey Lance, great. If not, okay. Dak Prescott has one more year on his deal, and we'll decide the future from there. There are at least 7 directions that this situation could go. At least 7. Not many of them are favorably going in Trey Lance's direction. But I mean, that's you flip a coin. You flip a coin. I mean, that's what San Francisco did with Purdy. It just so happened that they held up that one finger like Doctor Strange did. Here's a good pick. We're finally getting to a good pick. Well, potentially good, do y'all got a DB to replace Gilly? Yes, but and that's only because Deron Bland turned out so good. Trevon Diggs is coming back next year, recovering from that ACL. Stephon Gilmore, as of right now, was a free agent, but he is requiring surgery. So if he does decide to come back, cool. But if not, then it'll be the Diggs and Bland show once again. I believe that of course, we've seen that Deron Bland can be a star. We've seen that Trevon Diggs can be a star. And both of them are younger than Stephon Gilmore. Both of them are young. The issue is going to be when we have to pay Deron Bland. That's when we're going to see an issue. Because that young man is talented and he's going to want a lot of money. Shoot, he just broke a record. He just broke a record. Both him and Diggs have records now. Well, Diggs is tied a record. Bland broke that thing, so he gonna walk around and let his hang. So so yeah, it's gonna get real complicated real fast in that DB room. It's gonna get very complicated very fast. But for now, that's a good problem to have. For now, that's a great problem to have, and I'll have it every day until we gotta pay somebody because we already paid Diggs, and I'm happy with that. Very happy. Third round pick, DeMarvion Overshown, linebacker out of Texas. We never got to see him because he tore his ACL in the preseason. What we did see in practice and what we did see in that like 1 or 2 preseason games was cool, but it's a to be determined. And what can you do? Freak injury. Once he comes back in either camp or either after 1 or 2 games in the season, then we can make that determination. But because of injury, you just gotta push it off until later. But we would give up nothing for Mekhi Becton. And I'm saying that as someone that went to Highland Springs High School, and that's my little brother played football with him. I would give up not a thing for Mekhi Becton, and I wish him nothing but the best on any other team that he goes to. I would give up not a thing for Mekhi Becton. I'm gonna say that again. I would give up not a thing for Mekhi Becton. I'm gonna say that again. I would give up not a thing for Mekhi Becton. But I wish that young man the best. So yeah. But shout out to the Jets though. My all-season episode on them. One of the scripts that I got written. I got an all-season plan episode written on all 31 other teams. I think that one's gonna be good because I think that y'all got a lot of routes to go. I think I'm gonna do it in order of draft order. I ain't decided that yet, but I think that y'all got a lot of positive outcomes that y'all could go by. Because the Jets have they won a lot of games that they shouldn't have. And I know I'm kind of going off the rails, but the Jets won a lot of games that they shouldn't have with mediocre quarterback play. So if Aaron Rodgers comes back and is at least part Aaron Rodgers, and the Jets front office attempts to give him some receiver help and some offensive line help, then the Jets have a bright future for 1 to 2 years. And then after that, they're going to go back to being the Jets. So yeah, shout out to the Jets. Not in my conference. So, cool. Mekhi needs to get replaced. Then we will be okay. We need to draft a wide receiver, 2 O-line, and a quarterback late. Yeah, exactly what I said. Get Aaron Rodgers, a wide receiver, some offensive linemen, and hey, if y'all looking to replace him in this draft or next draft, absolutely. Yeah, keep the questions coming. By the way, I'll continue my regularly scheduled program while you ask as many questions as you want to. Ask about the Jets. Ask about any other teams. I'm a professional. I can adjust. 4th round pick that the Cowboys had, Junior Fehoko, out of San Jose State. It is really hard to have an opinion on someone when they're inactive almost every week. And it's hard for Junior Fehoko to see any action when your edge room is that talented. It is hard to see any action when your edge room is that talented. So what could Junior Fehoko do? He may see some action a year or 2 down the road, but yeah, this year he was not going to do a thing. Dorrance had a great year. He's going to be a free agent now. If he is not brought back, best of luck to him. D-Law is D-Law. Sam Williams is developing into a young, talented player as long as he can stay out of trouble with the law. Yeah. A lot of guys. Dante Fowler, still doing, talented veteran things. So yeah, Junior Fehoko, he had a highly unlikely, a very low probability, rather, I should say, of seeing any action this year. Stevie Mack said the receiver class is loaded, so the Jets shouldn't have a problem getting another guy. That is very true, especially where they're drafting if they want to get a guy in the first round. And John said, I feel like the Jets will be on the up, except that they get brought in the cardboard cutout of Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is old, his age showed itself when he only saw 4 snaps. So absolutely. Hopefully he recovers and sought out traditional medicine. But yes, his age definitely showed itself when he hit his leg on the 4th snap. And yes, Stevie Smith, Fowler is not sneaky good. He is very traditionally very, very high key good. He is definitely still good, especially when he has Micah or DeMarcus Lawrence on the other side of him or beside him or wherever. Fowler is still able to shine on this defense. Especially when Dan Quinn don't do stupid stuff, man. But we're going to talk about that, throughout all of this offseason. Now, we're getting into, mid to late day 3 here. Akeem Richards, offensive lineman, well, let's just, he did kind of like guard tackle, like swing tackle type stuff out of North Carolina. I like Akeem Richards. I liked Akeem Richards when he was coming out. But once again, it is hard to get properly evaluated when you don't have a high volume of snaps. Akeem might have played 25 snaps the whole year. Akeem might have played 25 snaps the whole year. But when he played, he was a cool little dude. He was a cool little dude when he played. I have hopes for him. He is very worth keeping around for another year. I think besides DeMarvion Overshown, Akeem Richards is the second highest pick that I am excited about. And that's because we got to see something on him. And just offensive line. O-line, best line. So, yeah. But offensive line is also a big issue in Dallas. So I think that Akeem Richards may get pushed down that roster very quick. Yes, Shaheem, we're going to draft as many linebackers as possible. We're going to bring in as many linebackers as possible, because I think that we are going to be done playing dime. Because this year it has been proven to be a mistake. I would expect. I hate to kind of use this analogy, but you remember the Sean Lee days, the Luke Kuechly days, where you had your very traditional Mike linebackers, guys with a very clearly defined roles in the NFL. Expect to see that in Dallas next year. Expect to see that in Dallas next year with our linebackers, because guys were too small. Guys did not have a clearly defined role. And as a result of that, the defense suffered. Do you guys plan to trade for a vet running back like Henry or attack the draft? Dallas has always attacked the draft. That is their primary plan of attack every single offseason. So whether it is going to be a high round guy like Blake Corum or Bucky Irving or what's the guy from Texas? Jonathan Brooks, I think his name is. Or a lot of guys. This isn't necessarily a super deep running back class like last year, but there's still a lot of good guys. When I talk about Deuce Vaughn, I'll talk about how we tricked up in a super deep running back class. But yeah, this running back class is not as deep as last year. But there's still a lot of good guys. But at some point, I would expect Dallas to attack the position in the draft. Do I think Dallas is hurting for raw talent on the O-line? Or is it possible to get along if they're coached up and play well? No, we are hurting for bodies. And that is because Tyron Smith is going to be a free agent. He's old and he's always hurt. So there's that. And then I also think that our center, Tyler Biadasz, sometime he good, sometime he bad. But then I believe he's also a free agent. So we're missing bodies, but then we also need, just talent. We need an infusion of talent. So yeah, we need offensive linemen, interior and exterior. I'm gonna skip Eric Scott because he didn't play. Even though they traded up for him, he didn't play. I think he was on practice squad all season. Cool. Much luck to you. Deuce Vaughn. I got a lot to say about him. Deuce Vaughn was drafted for the story and not for the skill set. Deuce Vaughn's dad, Chris Vaughn, was a player for Dallas in the early 2000s. Cool little dude. Had a decent skill set. Was an okay player. Now he is a scout for the Cowboys. I'm going to say that again. Deuce Vaughn's dad, Chris Vaughn, used to be a player for the Cowboys. Cool little dude. Had a decent skill set. Now he is a scout for the Cowboys. He's in the war room some years. I can't say all years because I don't even know what Chris Vaughn looks like nowadays. Until this year. They put Chris Vaughn in front of every camera this year. When Deuce Vaughn was selected, they made Chris Vaughn make the call. They said, "Hey, son, do you want to come to work with me tomorrow?" They made sure to have someone record it. Deuce Vaughn is 5'5", 170 pounds. Deuce Vaughn is 5'5", 170 pounds. Hello? Yeah, I said it. Yeah. 5'5". Yeah, 170 pounds. I know. Yeah. The nepotism won't work again in another year. The story sold jerseys, I'm sure. The story sold tickets in preseason games, I'm sure. But the genetics are not on his side. And we saw that when he got blown off his feet when trying to make a block. We saw that when a guy was able to make him look like he got blown off his feet on a shoestring tackle. Now that the story is going to get old and it's time for the skills to pay the bills, Deuce Vaughn is going to have trouble making this roster in the next year. Now, for what it's worth, he was a 6th round pick. But do you know who was a 5th round pick? Israel Abanikanda. Israel was my 4th rated running back, and he went to the Jets. This draft was chock full of running back talent. So if the Cowboys wanted to reach up around higher or look for similar talent, they could have gotten a guy like, let's see, I believe Eric Gray from Oklahoma was a 7th rounder. Just going off at the top of my head, I looked at this earlier today. I talked trash on one of my group chats. So yeah, the nepotism will run dry very fast. And Deuce Vaughn did not have an impact on the year. In fact, you could tell that the fans were tired of Deuce once the chants started going dry. Early in the season, you could hear the fans yell, Deuce. After he wasn't able to hit those holes because guys would be able to bump him off of his lanes, you can hear people like, okay, now get Rico Dowdle in there, and that's exactly what the team did. Every time Deuce Vaughn got the ball, or every time he was even in the lineup and wasn't able to block accordingly, and as a result saw less and less touches, the fans didn't chant anymore. And that's just a reality for someone. Everyone will not be Darren Sproles. And last pick, Jalen Brooks. Fine, practice squad guy. Or bottom of the roster by the end of the season, I'm not sure. But either way, fine. I mean, we'll see. He may be like he'll be what Simi Fehoko was for the team. And yes, Puka Nacua was a 5th rounder, but everybody isn't Puka Nacua. But yes, Jalen Brooks was our last pick, wide receiver out of South Carolina. Lottery pick, just got to roll the dice, see if it works. Stevie Mack said, I think Deuce could be a nice little gadget player, just not with Dallas. He needs to go to a team with a legit O-line and young offensive coordinator. In college, players with that size can work. In the NFL, you got grown men. Like, the term grown man strength is there for a reason. You have large men, and with smaller people, unless Deuce Vaughn grows another 2 to 3 inches, and is able to put on a bit more mass. I mean, he's 170 right now, so I mean, I guess he's kind of bulky for 5'5", but yeah, that frame will not be able to sustain him in the league because you got grown men who have bills to pay and are not trying to be everyone's friend. And that's going to be the case regardless of the team. You can put them on the Chargers where they're used to gadget players because they had Austin Eckler for the better part of 8 years, and I think the result is going to be the same. But yeah, all in all, this 2023 draft class in recent memory might be the worst in a long time, and that's including ones where you had like hit and miss guys like Taco Charlton and Kelvin Joseph who just didn't pan out because nobody saw the field. Nobody. Like this is an F class. because nobody saw the field. All right, like maybe you can like ask the teacher for a regrade after like a season or two, but sheesh. And I'm the teacher, by the way. You got to ask me for a regrade. But man, like just after one season, oof, Will McClay messed up on this one. He went to bed. And I think that may be part of the reason that the 2023 season suffered, because you got no impact from your draft class. What do you guys think? If you're a Cowboy fan, or if you're just a draft fan at all, what do you think? How can a team succeed if they don't get any impact from their draft class? And yes, Stevie Mac, I don't know what they were thinking either. Maybe they were looking for delayed satisfaction. Yeah, John. Maybe they were hoping for Schoonmaker to kind of develop up after a year or two. I wish that I could say the same about Mozzie, but asking that man to cut 10% of his weight, that confused me. 35 pounds is crazy for a D tackle. 35 pounds is crazy for a D tackle. I honestly can't make sense of it. I cannot make sense of it at all. And especially since he was already slow off of the ball. So asking him to move to 3-tech where he has to be a little bit more nimble, that is concerning. That is very concerning. But who knows, man? Who knows? If you've already been here, for this. Wait, what you got to say? The fact that Fergie played well, he just did this season. Yeah, disrespect for the Ferguson, right? Disrespect for the Ferguson. Because Ferguson had a good rookie season. So that makes the Schoonmaker pick a bit more confusing. I bet you they won't do it again. I guarantee you they won't do it again. And Mozzie has a chance, actually, if they adjust his role more appropriately. I'm not sure. I think he has to get more nimble off the ball. He needs some ball get off. That's just my thought, though. I'm just a dude who looks at film. Speaking of looking at film, probably sometime this weekend, I'm gonna do some live draft evaluations. And those are gonna be like some long form things. I'm not sure which position group I'm gonna do yet. I'm thinking linebacker. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna pull up my vault and just go through some guys, go through some games. We can watch some all 22 film together if you're so inclined. That's going to be non-team specific. And I'll let my chat box just decide who we're going to watch. The world is our oyster at that point. That may be during the day though. I don't know. Since I won't have to work. Go to my day job. Be Clark Kent for a few hours. I won't have to do that. But yeah, since you've been here for this past 39 minutes, go ahead and click that like button. And if you're so inclined, use those Twitter fingers and leave a comment. And if you've been here for this 39 minutes, go ahead and click that subscribe button. And as always, I am Frankly Football, your humble host Brandon. And until next time, peace.